I'm Anna.
And I'm Ben.
We are AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we are back with My Hero Academia, Season 6, Episode 16. It has been a while for us. We have run into a bunch of copyright issues. We currently have a copyright strike. Kind of scary. But we're going to be a little safer with My Hero Academia going forward. So we're going to be posting our reactions over on our Patreon for free and link it in the description below of this video. And we might be a little quicker with intros and then maybe discussions, I don't know. But we're on catch up. Yeah. But last we left off, Todoroki has his eyes set on Dabi because that is who he was previously in mentality.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, as well as Deku being in a coma.
Yeah.
And Bakugo running to his bedside.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we left off after Tartarus, right?
Pretty
the prison
much.
break.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to see the repercussions of the beginning of this season, and I don't know if I'm excited to watch My Hero Academia, but I'm like reluctant and sad that the events that have happened.
Right. Especially with what we get with the episode Tartarus, with a lot of people escaping that were not very nice people.
Chisaki, Stain, Mysterious Girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spells possibly
Muscular.
more disaster and more issues for the heroes than they're already going to be facing.
Yeah, we're fucked.
In terms of like public
TLDR.
opinion, injury, all of that. So.
TLDR, we're fucked. We're back. You ready?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, that was My Hero Academia, Season 6, Episode 16. Not what I expected out of this episode. I expected a similar tone, but just different characters being highlighted.
I completely agree.
I was like a little off balance because of that when it hit me. And some of those moments, man, and like the parallels in between Endeavor and Hawks, like it gets you. And then when Endeavor was like, I froze, I was like, fuck.
I find that sometimes when I start to feel like I know what's going to happen in a show or what is going to be fed to me in the next episode, that I have these expectations that I built up in my own mind.
Yeah.
And then when they don't come to fruition, I'm thrown off by it.
Yeah.
But it's not like what I saw was bad or not, like it wasn't successful. It's just that sometimes I think I do myself a disservice by going into an episode I would say I kind of tunnel vision, or I'm not as open-minded going into it because I have expectations of what I, in my headcanon, believe is going to happen. And then when it's not met, I find that sometimes I have to like break that wall back down and be like, okay, now I have to appreciate what is actually being given to me instead of like being thrown off. Because if I spend the episode feeling like thrown off by, oh, this isn't what I expected, then I'm not going to be immersed and really witnessing, perceiving, and appreciating what is being given to me.
Well, yeah, and it's also like it's been a while since we watched this show, so like it took me about 2 minutes, and then once we started hearing more about Hawks and what Kago or Kago and
Takumi?
his
Kago
father,
Takumi?
and just I started getting like pretty emotional pretty early on, just like thinking that Hawks has been this double agent. He's gone through so much. And to think about as a kid, this is the only environment you know. These are the only parents you know. And you still somehow come out of it with a sense of justice that completely goes against all of the ideals that your family and the people you are only around are spewing. Like, the isolation you already have to feel before you are further isolated. I'm like, holy shit.
That's so interesting because I was first going to say, like, this episode was crazy parallels between Endeavor and Hawks. And it was, definitely. But what you just said made me think of a parallel between Hawks and Shigaraki as children.
Yeah.
Shigaraki grew up in a household that hated heroes, but was also a hero family, technically, in his lineage. And he went through feelings of isolation. He was watching the TV, wanting to be like the heroes, and he's the major villain in the show. And then Hawks, obviously, went down a different route. Was who reached out their hand to Hawks, you know? The Safety Commission. They trained him to be a special type of hero. Who reached out their hand to Shigaraki. You know, that sort of thing. They both kind of were separated from their parents, the dynamics of their parents. But obviously there was major parallels between Endeavor, I'd say Shoto, Todoroki, and Dabi with Hawks.
It's just this season in particular, but also this episode, they're going down this route and really focusing on the fact that it's just not black or white. And I didn't expect it to this degree, but it shows you that each person in this living, breathing universe it's a case by case thing. It's not you can't make like a blanket statement of, oh, raise a family this way and that's gonna make a bad kid, or raise a family another way and it's gonna make a hero. You know, that's not what it's about. It's more particular than that.
And you also can't get away from, you may have lived 40 something years, and maybe 20 of those years you, as Endeavor was saying, like he might have been too late in terms of like reform, his regret and his guilt and his heart. He may have lived the last year or two trying to be a better person, but there's a past. And the whole theme of this episode basically was the past catching up with you, coming back to haunt you. We have that with Hawks saying almost verbatim a similar line to Endeavor, but we also have Stain back and reintroduced into this episode.
Well, you in regards to the past, you can never outrun it. And even acknowledging it doesn't mean that it goes away. And doing some penance for it doesn't mean that it goes away. It will never go away. It's trying to find the place of contentness while living with that. I absolutely loved Hawks' inner monologue about, like, sure, yeah, saving people. I want to be a hero, but that's different. Like that is very, it sounds very great, and that's used to the kind of lines that we are used to hearing, but it's much more complex than that. It's not just like, oh yeah, I'm hero, save people. No, you have to help people, and there are different degrees of helping somebody, because like these criminals who were Hawks' parents, they needed help, and what they wanted with their help, like, Hawks, go do this, steal something, get money. That is, yeah, it's helping them, but it's not legal, of course. It's still a crime, but you still want to help these people. So it's such, like, it's not an easy situation for Hawks or any of these heroes to be in right now.
He uses the language of that he abandoned his mother. And what I see is that he took on this job of saving other people, and he's like, but I didn't obviously save her. He chose in that moment as a kid to save himself by going into the line of work of saving people. Yeah. Basically, he chose what he thought would bring the best life for himself, and it was
you think?
In a great way, it was, I think, a selfish decision of like, I want to be a hero like this hero, and there was
it wasn't his decision. Right,
but he says that he kind of chose this in his like monologue as he's older.
Yeah,
he says language like he abandoned his mother.
Yeah, once his mother put him in this position, he was like, "Can I be a hero who saved people?" Like how.
And so basically, he took the hand, and basically just left his mother behind. Obviously, she was cared for, but to him, he still feels like he cut off his mother.
Yes, to him.
And so I'm purely talking about like internally how it feels to him, and not actually. I mean, she was living in a house.
Yeah.
That was probably being paid for by the Safety Commission.
Yeah,
and she was being protected.
A new
so
life.
Obviously she was fine.
Yeah.
It's that the emotional like disconnection that he's talking about of abandoning her.
Which is interesting, because I think that you could get into the perspective of saying that in a way was helping her or saving her because of the kind of person she appears to be and her needing money and food in that situation, right? But it wasn't Hawk's decision to give her that in the moment. It was her own. I definitely think that Hawks' quirk is derived, like you said, from the feathers, and then her quirk being like an eye and being able to see and be aware of those situations out of body.
Yeah, I feel like his father must not have had some crazy quirk. I feel like it was probably that he could fly, and that was maybe about it. And then it's because of the mother having these floating, like they're floating
Yeah.
eyeballs. So that leads me to believe of how it would turn into the fact that the feathers can disconnect and work and
Part
do
of me,
things.
part of me wonders if the father couldn't even fly, and like he just had
Another reason
feathers
he
and
hated
wings, and then his mother had the ability to, I don't know though. It was really interesting. Oh my god, I cannot explain my excitement of Stain coming back into the series, and
I
it's
know.
different. It's different because like since his appearance in season 2, I have loved him as a character and thought he had like this such a unique and different presence on screen than other animes, but it's different now. I have like a level of excitement and appreciation for his character to appear back on screen again because of how complex they're intertwining the story. Like you could make the argument, not if it's right or not, but you could make the argument that Stain had a extremely great true point in what he was trying to say. There are so many heroes. Well, like we said in the beginning of this discussion, it's not black or white, right? Each person is a different person, and each person is their own case. And I'm sure that exist heroes in this universe. There exists some who, at the first ounce of criticism they got, and the first, struggle that they got of being a hero, and it being different from what they're used to.
Or them not making the same money they did before.
They just hung up their cape. I'm sure that those cases exist, like subjectively, right? And just that they do alone gives a little bit of credence to Stain's ideology and not truly being a hero, right?
I think we had some. I think Stain was. Him coming back is so exciting back into the story because he's always been there since his first appearance, really. And he was a device in order to get a lot of the characters where they are now and to think the way that they do now. And so to have him come back is like really extremely exciting. I think that it is really interesting in this episode to have him come back at the same time that there is retirement and avoiding responsibility with other heroes. And then I think that I just having those two things happening in the same episode is really exciting. Like, are these people quitting or retiring because they're not receiving as much money anymore, which is a reason Stain would probably kill them? Or do they know that Stain's out of prison? Or do they feel responsible? Are they not willing to live up to the criticism? I believe the example they showed us was like an older gentleman, and I believe that they said something along the lines of him continuing to work because he had working off of what he had built when he was younger and the fans he had then, which gives me the feeling that he was kind of living off of his previous fame financially, and that he wasn't maybe actually doing amazing work as a hero and really putting himself out there and risking his life.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm excited to see to get back in his head a little bit. I think that he's going to offer a really big role in the story going forward, or at least like he's gonna.
He better be in it for more than just like a few episodes. I think if he like dies soon,
well, it depends why, right? Like
soon, I'd probably be a little bit deflated.
I'm just super interested to see like what his reaction and take on what's going on is.
Yeah, let's get some inner monologue. Let's get a speech. Let's get something.
Yeah, do you think that it's inevitable that he meets up with either All Might or Deku at this point? What would he think of All Might not being a hero now because he can't?
It could be really entertaining to see a conversation between Stain and the current All Might. That could be very entertaining to see.
What do you think his role's going to be right now?
I don't know, because we've talked about how Dabi or Toga would react to Stain, the possibility that they could actually follow Stain instead of Shigaraki, and how would Shigaraki react to Stain? How would Stain react to
More
Shigaraki?
Spinner.
Yeah. Right. I mean, Spinner's already in a weird situation right now where he's like I was following Shigaraki, not All for One. Or is it One for All? No, All for One, yeah. So would Spinner leave and start being like a sidekick for Stain? Does Stain even take sidekicks, or is he like a solo lone wolf guy?
Well, like, that's what I'm asking you. Like, what does Stain do here? Because with a world full of a country full of people who are abandoning their post as heroes, he's not going to be able to go into that area and kill the heroes that aren't there, right?
Yeah.
I think that he would have nothing but I don't think he'd have any bad or murderous intent on the civilians who are using assisting gear to protect themselves. I think that you could argue that the heroes who are staying heroes, Stain would more likely be open to saying that they are worthy, since even with this added stress, and devastation and pressure, they are staying heroes.
Is it possible that Stain could be a device used to help the opinion of the public toward heroes now that it's been broken down so harshly? Like, it would Stain, if Stain were to say what you just said about how all the heroes that are staying and continuing to work for you despite your criticism and throwing objects at them, like, those are true heroes, that's probably what he would believe. I think that's or he could possibly believe. That's a really great point. So, like, is that a possible way to use Stain's character, is in order to bring favor back toward the current working heroes? I think that it was really interesting to bring up, like, how would he react to the civilians taking matters into their own hands against villains?
Mm-hmm.
And on that point, I had written down that the civilians with this gear that they're buying, they're not trained to avoid casualties and property damage. And so when we have pro hero Wash walk up and the building is like cracked, it's like, wow, okay, so yes, you might feel like empowered that now you're gonna fight and protect yourself.
Self-defense,
and that's great, because we obviously have seen the show for 6 seasons, and we know that first season you couldn't, and like the first couple seasons, like, Deku would get in trouble if he fought because he technically wasn't allowed to yet, and there was like the legal issues with that, and obviously the police are too busy to be policing people protecting themselves right now, but they are not trained to limit casualties and damage. So who's holding them accountable for, what if you accidentally, like, tear down someone's house while you're stopping this villain, or you kill someone while you're stopping this villain? Like, it's things wild. Are gonna run wild, and not in a great way.
I loved Best Jeanist's Batman car, and how he can utilize... He
was the perfect character to have a, like, awesome, tricked out car.
And utilize, like, his, like, his rope shooting out of it to capture...
Fiber on.
Yeah, to capture villains, and then I love his character so much. He's so funny.
I think I enjoy, for the comedic value, his catchphrases and the things he adds into normal conversation.
Like, sorry for being so flamboyant. My body can't handle it. It's like withered jeans. Or like, oh, this situation's tough. Just like trying to fit into skinny jeans.
I sense something fraying.
Yeah. Like I love his character so much. And I did not realize that it was his own body being used in the interaction with Dobby. Like, that adds a whole nother layer of what the fuck.
He was basically brought back to life, resuscitated by Hawks. And that he was in ridiculous. One of those, like, tubes that Shigaraki and the Nomus were in. Like, that... I feel like I could have spent 23 minutes just on that alone. Mm-hmm. Like, that was like a little drop, and I was like, wait, what? What did you just say? Like, what did Hawks do? And what was best? Like, that shocked me. That really shocked me.
Last couple things. Great line was "All Might's too expensive" from Stain's from Hawk's mom.
Hawk's mom.
It was like it was really
hilarious.
It was hilarious. It was really sad to me.
Hilarious and sad.
I was just like, holy shit.
Well, there was a nice mix of like crying and sadness with like oddly timed comedic moments that had. I think it was on purpose in this episode, because it happened
in some instances,
to create almost like a unsettled feeling. Like, we had a similar kind of feeling, I would say, to Endeavor crying and then his kids walking in and being like, oh, sorry, Dad.
I think it's like in some situations it's to like cope with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in like the Hawks situation, like I don't know, that tying together with him saying that nothing is tying him down anymore because the commission's like out. Like I'm just I don't know. I'm in a really like devastated spot for the story of Hawks, and I'm really interested to see the intricacies of like how his character goes forward, because I think in my mind before this episode I just assumed, okay, he's going to be out for a while, but when he's back, hopefully he'll just, get back to work like normal. But now he has his own, his own missions right now, his own
Right.
motives.
This episode was like coping mechanisms, hopelessness, devastation, uncomfortability, uh, people regretting, avoiding responsibility and or maybe taking too much of the responsibility and holding that burden yourself and maybe hating yourself and regret. So some of the things that I had written down was Endeavor saying that Dobby knew he would survive that fight.
Mm-hmm.
And about, not being able to jump into action when it's his own kids. And when they brought up, like, Natsu, and we saw that,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I didn't even, like, realize the pair at the time when Dobby had appeared and was like, we're gonna dance in hell together. I didn't even realize the fact that Endeavor had frozen like this before when his child was in trouble.
It just adds more fuel to the flame of it being Todoroki's mission now to be the one to take down Dobby.
Because Endeavor literally says that he can't do it.
Yep. I really was I didn't expect Ray's tone or face at the end of the episode, and how serious, and I don't know, like I was a little bit worried about Ray because obviously she's been in this hospital for a while, and we've seen her being incredibly empathetic and sorry to her children, but it's really nice that she is confident and like has something to say and is like sticking up for herself right now in this moment, and you can feel her presence and confidence with like the look on her face.
I think she also has some faith in the family. Yeah. I think the flower symbolizes a lot to me, and she
Endeavor
really
remembered.
She was really drawn to Endeavor saying about his heart, and she was like, "What about your heart?" Like she is basically embodying it's not too late. Like, we are a family, and we're here right now. And Toya is there, and he's alive, and he's a part of our family. And I want to be a fly on the wall and hear this family meeting conversation.
I want to hear what Ray has to say.
I want to hear what she has to say.
Yeah.
I want to hear how she's feeling. I mean, how did she feel when she found out that her child was alive and saw him on TV, you know?
I don't know. My last thing is that I wonder if Cider House, that quirk, if like he could have just, if that, I don't know, how much money can you really make off your quirk? Can that be your profession? You just turning like water into sparkling water,
You can help everyone that has like indigestion issues. Oh, you need to burp? Go to Cider House down the street.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I love the quirks in this universe. It's like one of the best parts of the show.
Well, he like wasn't very talented because he was beat pretty bad pretty quickly by those civilians.
God, dude, this is so sad. This show is so sad right now. Like the thought of like civilians having or being pushed to feeling like this is what they need to do to be able to even stand a chance at survival. Like, this show has really like leaned into the like to the realism and of how drastic and depressing the situation everybody's in right now. And it's really entertaining, but it just leaves me like, oh, I want people to be happy again. I miss the good old days when like anything could make all of our characters laugh and smile,
Yeah. Or we'd fight one smaller villain for 5 episodes and then we're like doing a school festival,
Yeah.
I think that what has been shown to me from this season of this hopelessness that's been given and all of this like really gross feelings, these unsettled feelings, and like I just want everyone to be happy. I think what it is just a compliment to the world building that was put into place from season 1 of being told kind of the rules of the society that once we were told some of the issues people had with the society, the complexities that were in line between hero work and villains and civilians, that everything in that's currently happening is completely believable. And it just completely shows a breakdown of the system of the world that we were introduced to season 1.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.